Wells Fargo presents one of the surest ways to grow your money. A Wells Fargo CD account, where you can earn a 5.00% annual percentage yield on an 11-month term with a minimum opening deposit of $5,000. Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/CD rates to open a CD account and start growing your savings with us.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
Hey, it's Storyworthy. Today on the show, the host of Somebody Feed Phil, Phil Rosenthal, talks about writing what he knows.
I thought I was being nice. I thought I was a good son. I thought my parents would like this gift that I sent them for Hanukkah, the gift of Fruit of the Month. Well, I send it, and I get this phone call. It's my mother. Hello, Philip. Your present arrived today. Did you know it was a box of pears? Well, yeah, I did, Mom. Do you like them? Oh, they're very nice, but there's so many of them. There's over a dozen pears. Well, what am I supposed to do with all these pears? I said, I think you're supposed to eat them, Mom.
Today on the show, writer and host of Somebody Feed Phil, Phil Rosenthal, talks about how you need to write from what you know. Stay close.
Hello, Mom and Dad, and the rest of you. It's Phil Rosenthal, and you're listening to Storyworthy.
Welcome to Storyworthy. My name is Christine Blackburn, and I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, California. Whether you're a longtime fan of the show of over 12 and a half years, or you're a new listener, welcome to Storyworthy. Hope you guys enjoyed the show last week with Greg Cope White. Greg talked about joining the Marine Corps when he was a gay man. Now, this was years ago, of course, when there were no gay men or women allowed in the military. And Greg tells this fantastic story about being in the military. And was it a nightmare or was it his dream spending the summer showering with 70 naked men? It's a great story. Go back, you guys. Listen to Greg Cope White. But not today. Stay with me now, because today on the show, I have the creator of Everybody Loves Raymond and the host of Somebody Feed Phil, Phil Rosenthal. And he talks about how you need to write what you know. But before we get over to Phil's story, I wanted to remind you guys to check out my Life in 3 Songs. It's on Spotify exclusively because we listen to the music, and Spotify has the music licensing that we need. So check it out. I talk to comedians about the 3 songs in their life that have impacted them, not necessarily their favorite songs, but songs that made an impact about who the comedian is and where they're from. So check it out. It's exclusively on Spotify, like I said, and it's totally free. My Life in 3 Songs. You can also go to the website, mylifein3songs.com, and follow the show on social media at My Life in 3 Songs. All right, you guys, without any further ado, let's get over to the very talented Phil Rosenthal.
People ask me how the show came about and everything, and I met Raymond, and he told me about his family just the way, you would tell me about your family if we were meeting you for the first time or just getting to know somebody, right? He was a comedian. He wanted to get on the David Letterman show, and he got on David Letterman, and after 5 minutes, Letterman said there should be a show for this guy. So they set about looking for a writer to create a show for Raymond. I had seen the Letterman appearance that he was on, and I said, of course I would take that meeting. They saw scripts that I had written, and they said, let's put these two together, see if they hit it off. So we met at a deli, Art's Deli, on Ventura, yes, and tell me about your life. He'd start telling me about his life and his family, and for every crazy story he had about his Italian family, I had one about my Jewish family. And so I said, I think I can work with, the situation of your real family. But when I sat down to write the pilot, I really didn't know how to illustrate. I got to a part, how do I illustrate in the pilot where you have to set up everything? For instance, just how crazy Ray's parents are going to be. And I was struggling with this for a while, and then it hit me. There was a story I told several months back because I was the best man at my brother's wedding, okay? And the best man has to make the toast. So you have a little performance anxiety with that, especially if you come from show business. People are expecting a decent story, okay? Now, something had just happened in my family. And I thought, oh, this might be a good story. I'm going to tell this story at the wedding reception. And it's not just going to be a story. It's going to be a warning to my new sister-in-law that it's not too late to run. Okay? And here's what happened. This is absolutely true. I thought I was being nice. I thought I was a good son. I thought my parents would like this gift that I sent them for Hanukkah just a couple months before the wedding, the gift of Fruit of the Month Club. Okay? You know what this is? You know what this is? Okay. So I send it, and I get this phone call. I'm in L.A. I get this phone call from New York. It's my mother. Hello, Philip. Your present arrived today. Did you know it was a box of pears? And I said, well, yeah, I did, Mom. Do you like them? She goes, oh, they're very nice, but there's so many of them. There's over a dozen pears. Well, what am I supposed to do with all these pears? I said, I think you're supposed to eat them, Ma. Myself? Well, maybe you and Dad. Well, how many pears can your father eat? Philip, please, do me a favor. Please don't send us any more food again, okay? And I said, well, Ma, another box is coming next month. And she said, what, more pears? And I said, no, a different box every month. She went, every month? Oh, my God, Max, he got us in some kind of cult. My father gets involved. He says, what do you think, we're invalids? We can't go out and get our own fruit? Why would you do this to us? And I start to explain, and my mother says, I can't talk anymore. There's too much fruit in the house. Okay? So I tell that story at the wedding, and I got some laughs. And so when it came time to write something that would illustrate in a pilot episode where you're establishing character, how crazy are Ray's parents? I had an objective in that show. We had to go over to the house and explain to them that they weren't going to be home for Deborah's birthday, which was a lie. Deborah just wanted, in the pilot episode, to have her birthday without the parents for once. So he comes over. But before he can lie to them about this, she stops him and says, your gift to us finally that got here, did you know it was a box of pears? And so this was the scene that people told me made the pilot different, made the pilot stand out from other things. Why? Because it was very specific. And what I didn't realize, I just thought it was a funny story. I thought you'd laugh because look how crazy those parents are. What I happily found out is that your parents are crazy too. That all our parents are this is a truth. I didn't know. You can't give your parents a gift without it blowing up in your face. The following year, the show is on. It's doing well. If you're in charge of a show, one of the things that's nice to do is get everybody who works on the show a cast and crew gift. Okay? I got them, since we were a domestic sitcom set in a house, I got everybody a toaster that said, Everybody Loves Raymond on the side. Nice. I send one to my parents because I think they're proud of the show and they supposedly like me. So I sent it to them. And I don't hear anything. Maybe they didn't get it. So I call, and this time my father answers the phone. I say, hello, Dad. Yes. I said, did you get the present I sent you? It was again for Hanukkah. Just the very next year. Okay? Yes, very nice, he says. I said, oh, did you see what it was? What? It was a toaster, right? I said, I'm getting suspicious now. I said, yeah. I said, oh, did you open the box? It comes, it's a Cuisinart toaster. You got to open the box. So go get it, open it up. He'll see what it says. I'll get the nice reaction. There's a pause, and he says, I don't have it with me right now. I say, what did you do? Your mother wanted a coffee maker. They took it to Macy's, lied to them, right? Traded my gift for a coffee maker. And our joke in the writer's room was somebody probably went to Macy's, bought that toaster, got it home, opened it up, saw what it said, put it back in the box, went back to Macy's and said, I'd like the Fraser toaster. Right? This just is another example of how the gift, why do I keep getting them gifts? It doesn't work. But my point is that the best stuff, now, when I'm screaming at them, because I called him from work, I'm screaming at him, you are the show. Do you realize you are the show? My father said, you're welcome. Right? He knew what I didn't know, which was all the best stuff comes from real life. You don't have to make it up. I tell writers, it's easier to write stuff down than to write. So if you just go through life, all of us have a crazy story about something that really happened to us. Yeah. Now, the way I ran Raymond was the way Carl Reiner ran Dick Van Dyke. I learned from observing what he did. What did he do? He asked the writers, what happened at your house this weekend? So your job, if you work for me, your job was to go home, get in a fight with your wife, come back in and tell me about it, right? That's what we needed. That's where all the stories, 90% of what you saw on that show happened to me, or to Ray, or to one of the other writers. So, for instance, one of our writers comes in, and she says, my mother made me a sculpture in her sculpture class, and I can't have it out because it looks like a part of the anatomy. I said, what do you mean? She says, a lower part. I said, wow, you know what? There might be a show in that, right? And then it hits me. Where I grew up in Rockland County, New York, there's a courthouse, and outside the courthouse is a sculpture, a big one, because, this writer, her mother made her a sculpture of this. It was only about, a foot high. But there's if on television, you make it a big sculpture, so you really get the joke. So outside the courthouse was a sculpture that was infamously known for looking like this part of the anatomy. And to show my prop department, I'm going to have my parents send me a photo of the thing. I call my house. They're eating dinner. My mother answers the phone. You can hear the clinking of the plate, the knife and fork on the plate while I've interrupted dinner. Ma, how you doing? Very nice. Oh, it's Philip. Oh, hello, Philip. You hear from the back, my father. I say, Ma, I'm doing a show, and I'd like a picture of the sculpture in front of the courthouse. Oh, no problem. Max, you need to go down to the courthouse tomorrow with your camera and take a picture of the vagina sculpture. And my father, you can hear in the back, he says, the what? My mother says, the vagina sculpture, Max. There's a vagina sculpture at the courthouse? She says, yes, Max, it's called the vagina sculpture. Everyone calls it the vagina sculpture. You've never seen the vagina sculpture, Max? You can't see that is very obviously a vagina? It's a vagina, Max. And my father's a pause, and he goes, what do I know from vaginas? Where did the show wrote itself? I didn't have to go very far. These kind of things were happening to me on a weekly basis, either in my parents' house or in my own house with my kids. I mean, I could keep going. I know this is the story-worthy show, but I have a million stories of things that were then turned into episodes. In fact, the writers and I did a tour where we would each tell a terrible thing that happened to us at home, and then show the Raymond episode. It became show the clip of from that thing. And we went around the country doing that for a while. And we had a ball.
Was that a great story or what? I mean, talk about somebody who knows what they're doing. I mean, Phil Rosenthal has just been extremely successful in his life. And if you want to be successful like that, I suggest you mold your career around Phil Rosenthal. How about that? Do what he did. All right, you guys, thank you again so much for listening to Storyworthy. I really appreciate it. And if you don't belong to my mailing list, why not join my mailing list? Head over to storyworthypodcast.com and it'll just come up. Join my mailing list, and you should. And I'll send you a letter once a week. It's short, it's sweet, it just keeps us in touch. You know what I mean? All right, you guys, thank you again so much for listening. My name is Christine Blackburn. On behalf of Phil Rosenthal, make it a story-worthy week.
Thanks for joining us on the Storyworthy Podcast. We'll be back next week with all new stories. Subscribe to Storyworthy on iTunes and visit the Storyworthy website at storyworthypodcast.com.
Hello, saver. Whether you're saving for that trip to the tropics or saving for an emergency, now is the time to take advantage of Wells Fargo's savings options. Wells Fargo offers savings accounts that can help you save towards your goals. So, what are you saving for? Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/save to open a savings account today.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.